a few minute long video tutorial on this free method and way of getting an NHL cheat sheets, particularly on FanDuel. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at the SportsLine site. When you come here, you have your fantasy options, as you don't have to get into the betting portion of it, and then you go to DFS values. And what this does is it very conveniently brings up for you value-based propositions on the site of your choice, FanDuel or DraftKings. Right now I'm on the center position, as it shows me right here. The price range, the expensive $8K. There's only 2 guys for today's slate in the NHL. So, and then the 7K, as it shows me great value, good value, moderate, or fade. So you don't want to include these guys in the red, perhaps in your lineups at all. Now, this is not particularly geared toward cash or tournament plays. However, I'll show you how you can get into that and basically formulate that, though, in just a few minutes. So here, you can come up with a value base, and these are like core plays in bold. Sebastian Aho and Elias Peterson, which I did happen to use yesterday, scoring well. In fact, with Peterson on the 50-50 contest right here, under my entry, as it shows, Peterson had the 46 points last night. And on this particular cash game, just put in $5. And then I had also Hovart on the same line with him, along with Bozer. I believe all these guys were in the same line. Sometimes they don't necessarily have to be, but this lineup was good. So, because I use this daily method for cash, and I paid a lot for Gaudreau in the 8,000 range, and it paid off. So you can certainly do these things and get yourself the best daily fantasy lineup using these values, no problem. The challenge comes in as far as how to correlate these players and put them in your lineups, as you can obviously do the same with any position here and get great value plays. However, you want to make sure you're looking at consistent fantasy players who are in a good matchup. So you do want to consider, the actual NHL odds, okay, or picks rather. Go to picks. So while you're here, you might as well use this, the NHL Picks, okay, to get an idea of if this is updated at this time in the morning during the 6 a.m. hour, of what the scores will look like in these particular games. So it's conveniently showing that here as well. You don't have to sign up for the paid premium of SportsLine to get this, as far as I know. So, even though I have it, so the game projected scores are right here. So, for example, Toronto, you can go over 5.5 over/under total, just because I suppose Toronto's probably going to score so many goals in this game versus Minnesota at home. So you can look at this information and use that to figure in with your cash games, in particular, how you're going to formulate that plan, as it may take a while. In fact, I did this lineup here by hand to come in 37th out of 100, which is fine for a $9, $4 cash-in total profit. However, it would just naturally takes you a while to fit in every player off of the value list into this lineup. So what I also do is I've used, and I've shown many times before, the draft dashboard, as this comes up just fine here. The top players for the day, okay? You can kind of arrange and sort how you want according to matchup or DVP. PV, position versus defense, that's PVD, and this column right here that I'm showing. Or you can just go the overall best algorithmic, play of the day, if you just sort from the column all the way to the left. Okay, so it just takes a moment to sort. But what I'll basically do is come down and take a player, for example, a center, Bergeron, and decide, well, maybe his all these things factored in here, him being at home and everything that I can see, his last 5 games. Actually, in this case, I would not fade him, of course, but I can see even his last 5 games versus Vegas. I'm sorry, versus Buffalo, the same opponent, and very important as well here. This column right here showing the last 3 games. There's 2 columns that show that, but the last 3 games minute total. So any player that I have in question that maybe doesn't run along with the first or second lines, we want to kind of see how his minutes are totaling. This info is just not updated here, though. Don't worry about showing the zeros right now or anytime in the morning where actually it is showing his. So that's good, updated already. 18, 22, 20 minutes. So that's good. Of course, and that's what you'll get with a first liner on a good team like that. A good first line for Boston, as well as Washington right here. Pasternak, his teammate. There you go. There you can line those guys up together in your lineup if you want, if you can afford them. And it's just a matter of really trying to clearly afford and put these factors into practice into correlating your lineups and just deciding upon, you can even see a projected total right here, 18.9 for Kane compared to, 19.5, and you can compare all these various factors. But then what's really important, cash is just leveling out. Like I said, which player is consistently getting the most points. You can click on the player's name and get every detailed scoring and minutes played for each game so far this year. So you can see all that info right here. This is on the all-day slate, and then you can even get to really make sure. You can go to sleepers and studs. Just go to the studs. Get for players that probably cost more but are most consistent. If you can find guys that happen to be starting in the like a dailyfaceoff.com or the leftwinglock.com to find very important ways of getting. I'll show that perhaps in another video. Your deployment on these guys on the lines and how they also assist to line up on the power play, and it'll show the warm up on leftwinglock.com. It shows the warm up from the morning, so around 10 to 12 p.m. There you'll see which guys have went out and are prepared to skate on lines together and be able to correlate, at least 2 players. You could do like a 2-2-2 stack. That's times 2 would equal 6. Then you have, 2 one-offs also in a lineup like this in a 50-50 scoring contest scenario, so that you can cash in and then you can risk it more on your tournaments. Now for your tournaments, by the way, here in Draft Dashboard, of course, let's say we want to watch these players, make sure we get them into our lineup. We go ahead and watch them, such as Bergeron. And once we decided upon, of course, Pasternak, that they have the value, that they have a good Vegas over-under totals, and as we decided here over on our SportsLine site, we go ahead and watch the players to save ourselves some time instead of trying to figure out one by one, was this guy value enough? Is this guy low cost enough? Is this guy worth it? That guy, how can I fit all these guys? You'll find it is difficult, of course, to fit all stud consistent plays into your lineup just because of the fact that it's just hard to do. This will also help you here if you get the research station for the NHL. They have the NFL right now. They have the NBA. That's on dfsarmy.com. I'll leave a link in the description for that as well. I'll leave a link in the description for the draft dashboard, so you can get that, watch the players generate your main cash lineup. Then if you want to go and generate more tournament lineups to give you a chance of a much higher upside, as you can look at this info here, it's going to show you real quick the skaters. You can look at the past. It just makes it easier when you view things a certain way and to see it lined up like this in a spreadsheet. You can go way over here. You can look at a lot of teams, percentage of teams scoring. This is just more detailed info that's not on the draft dashboard. Shot percentage, blocks and shots per game and all that. Last 10 games, last 5 games. More stats on top of, the scoring that we showed for the last 5 games. So every site has something a little bit different to show you. But here's a consistency rating. You may have a question of what this is. FDL20CR. This means, in particular, the last 20 games that the player has played, have they scored, or how often have they scored at least 15 points? That's a good goal range to try to, we can sort descending here and just show you what percentage of their games have scored at least 15 or more points. And that lines up with here Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen, McDavid. These guys are studs in the league. So, and then you get Crosby, Carlson, guys that are also consistent. You see right away here that 55% or above of reaching 15 points is pretty good. So you can look at all that info there. But now for the tournaments, you got to go to the research station. Here's where you got to do a little bit more tweaking as well. But as long as you get what you want, you can get some really good lineups and hit on one of, if you just enter, like, for example, 8 or 10 25 cents tournament lineups that are featured in this section of FanDuel that you want to go to. So you go, of course, to the NHL here. Then you go to, as just sort of a brief overview, once you get in here and get your trial run on with this site, is of course promotionally offering, then you go to the main, and because there's a lot more training on how to do these things inside here. Set up your tournament how you want it. So this includes how you want to stack, how many players from each team, which exact players, all that data you enter in here to control. Now, it may seem at first like a lot to enter in to set up, but it's not, because it saves you a lot of time from creating one by one hand-picked lineups times 10, 20, however many you want to enter in for the tournament, as long as you have your lineups balanced out from your NHL Picks odds and so forth. You can come here and, by the way, look at the NHL odds. Of course, that and help help that to use that to help you choose your goals and so forth, winning likelihood of winning, highest goals, potential score, and things like that, and lowest, so that you can decide, well, which goal is going to allow the least to increase his fan point total, so that you can get more points with a high upside goalie. Of course, that's desirable for the tournaments. And then for the cash, you kind of doing the same thing, really. So once you just wait for this to load and get the games here loaded, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the day. It appears on the main slate, and then you go, your number of lineups here. You can go to tournament mode, as this is pretty easy actually to set up here, as I'm just showing you right now. You can include the lines that you want to stack, maybe just 3 lines instead of 4. You don't have to include the 4th line guys in the NHL. And then you can come over here and also include, where are we at? Right here, enable controlled stack by name. So that's the option it gives us here for this sport. Every sport has something like that. You can do double stacking, 2 teams of stacks, and go at it. Percentage right here, enter the player for any team you want. Let's say Dallas. You start looking to give you a list of players that you want to stack. Once you decided on the demographics, the potential upside, all the data, and then you just go at it, deciding, making sure you get lineups in there that are desirable to you. As I recommend going with power play setup, looking at demographic for that on left wing lock and daily faceoff to decide which players are also power play stacked together, which of course is different from cash, as that's the recommended way to go with that high upside goalie. Putting these players together for the best potential, absolute highest score you can potentially get. All right, so I'll let it go at that, and then you all enjoy the slate for today.